Okay. Oh, wow. So, okay, so that's that system. So, now I'm very upset about that. All right, so that is cool, yes? Anybody got any comments?
Yes.
Yes, Brad. That's cool? Anybody talking to me? This is cool, man. You know, the more we look at the human body, the more we understand it, the more that we see the way innate intelligence works, the more that we understand the relationship of the neurology and the structure and the curves and who's important and so forth, then guess what? Okay? Then we're going to be able to do a better job. It's just that simple. You know, this is not a bone out of place, this system. All right? And innate intelligence is standing there right in front of us, right in front of us. And what has happened is it took me about 13 years to go through everybody else's stuff. Okay? It was almost 14. Okay? So it was almost like, you know, 6 days. Okay? You know, and then I rested on the 7th kind of thing. All right? So I went through my orthospinology. I went through my NUCA stuff, and it's from there that I took the past 7 years again, and that's now we've integrated from a bone out of place to a system that is very comprehensive, and hence where the conversation of quantum now comes from. If I only knew then what I really went. It's funny. So, very cool to see the sagittal system, very cool to see the frontal system, how they're integrated, I mean, does anybody think that that's not a plausible concept that we came up with tonight, that was discussed? I mean, is that not plausible? Is that a conversation is that a conversation that you've had before? Did you see it that way? Did I miss something?
Nope, never saw it before. It's amazing.
Yeah, and now you start looking and saying, okay, now what do I got to do? Now what I got to go to work? Okay, because you got to understand normal. You got to understand when the body misaligns and what is normal then, how it's normal, okay, and then what's not normal, okay? All right, so, you know, these are the guys on the sagittal system, C0, C1, C5, and C7. And, hold on one second, let me just go back. Ben? Yeah.
Hey, Russell?
Yes.
Why do you call C5 mechanically strong? Because
it's the keystone. In an arch, the keystone, because C5 is the top of the arch. It's right. It's the strongest. It can bear the most amount of weight.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. The way it's wedged in. It's kind of like the sacrum. And it's like the atlas. You look at them, the way they sit. Okay. All right. So the attachments are specific. So we've been looking at this posture listing, and we've looked at it in this format for about the past, let's call it 9 months to a year at best. It probably hasn't been a year. Okay. And we were looking at all of these factors, and it showed up one day of, you know, my impression of the way that things should be organized. And we should have the low hip and the fixed point, which is the spine relationship to the L5, okay? So the fixed point should be on the same side as the low hip, all right? The weight should also be on that side. These three things are what we call structure, okay? We call them structure. These three things on the other side are the function. Structure, opposing structure, function. These things should be balanced with all either R's, which would make these then all L's, or these L's and these R's. This is our job, is at every level is to make sure that somebody gets to these positions. So if some of this, say I had an R, L, R, I would focus on the line that would be connected to correcting that fixed point. Okay? So my goal here in QSM3 is to take a structure that is imbalanced and all messed up. See if I have a little something here. Something that's all over, like bent over like that. That is not a balanced structure. That looks like it's going to fall over. To taking this and to somehow getting it organized where the head here sits over the pelvis. We call that a balanced misalignment. I call that a sustainable misalignment. Okay? So that being said, we want the structure and the function to be balanced. These structure, when I talk the structure is a problem, these are the three letters I'm talking about. When I talk about the function is a problem, I'm saying that the neurology is not functioning properly. Why is the neurology not functioning properly? It's a great question, okay? This number here is weight. Weight is a function of gravity, okay? But all of these things are a function of gravity anyway because we're in a gravitational field. This number is pure gravity, okay? So in this misalignment, this human being feels the stress of 12 pounds on it. That's what this is saying, okay? Now, if this misalignment had 12 pounds on it, but was standing on one leg with your arm hanging over a cliff and leaning over, it would not feel like 12 pounds. It would feel like 50 pounds, okay? So misalignments that change, the more they become imbalanced, the more stress on the system, and the more the gravitational stress is on the system. Okay? End of story. Your grandma's going to fall down faster. Okay? So this is structure. This is function. Okay? Structure, function. These are the words that we use here. We call this below. Okay? Gravity and time is in here. Gravity is the weight. Time is the compression. Over time, grandma falls down. This is the measure of twist. Okay? So what we want to do is we want to be able to access the structure if it's dysfunctioning and get to it. If it's not, we take care of the function first. If the structure is damaged first, we take care of the structure first. If the function is damaged first, we take care of the function. And what I mean by that is it is the last thing that we do. That's how we take care of it. Okay? So if this letter was an L, I would access the point that accesses this line right here. I would put that in place last if I had some other stuff to do up here if I wanted to. The primary thing is always what I do last, okay, on patients that are at certain levels. We have a level system in QSM3. We'll talk about it another day. Okay, so now this is, if you haven't had this stuff before, don't get excited. So I'm just going to back up a second, okay? And I just bear with me for 5 minutes here because we've had some people come on. I just want to walk through this, okay? And the human body, okay, is tensegral, all right? But it's not a real tensegral system, okay? It's not just a balloon. It just doesn't have tone, okay? And it's not just a pile of bones and columns and beams, okay? What it is a system made up of musculoskeletal system, okay, and that are integrated together that gives us shape and stability. And that system needs to be in balance, okay? And when it's in balance, that's when we have a natural state of tone and symmetry in our body. And as chiropractors, that's what we need to do, okay? So what I'm looking at now is not just moving somebody right and left, but understanding the attachments and how to restore the body three-dimensionally when they're standing in front of me, because I can look at and say, that is the problem now. Not just see a bone out of place and go, yup, that's 5 millimeters here and 2 degrees there, or this one's here and that one's there. I want to understand how this system broke down, okay? And we're not just a balloon system. We're a three-dimensional system that has a stabilizing frontal system, a straight orthogonal system, but we're not just an orthogonal system. That's not even the main system. That's the supporting system. The main system is the sagittal system because tensegrity is the main system. And the sagittal system is the tensegral system. And it's got 2 tension lines in the back that are created after birth. It pulls us back while we bend the line, and it creates bounce for us 2 systems in the back, 2 systems in the front. Okay? And when we lose that, we become rigid and buildings don't jump well. Okay? So we see these rules. Grandma falls down and grandma falls forward. So what is our job, guys? Our job is to bring them up and bring them back. Okay? We call it up and open. It's that simple. It's not moving a bone. This system is in collapsing short tension. Gravity shortens us. Muscles don't get longer. They only get shorter. They collapse. So we look at the short lines. And those are the ones, okay, this line over here that's long on this side, this lumbar side here, okay, whatever it is, this says right. So this left side is long. This psoas is long on this side. Why? Because this one is falling down. So this one's stretching here, okay? So the right one is at fault. So how do you get that out? Well, should it be put out? What about the pelvis? Do we do that first? What about the shoulder? What about the neck? How do we get those things out? Where are they? Well, the first thing that you got to understand is the 2 things that you have to do. And that is you got to release up and you got to release and you got to get these tension lines back into the sagittal plane. Okay? So we got to understand the anatomy. Then we understand the attachments. Okay? The back attachments, the sagittal curves, okay, are up in here, man, ligamentum nuchae, double strong. Okay, that's our access line in there. And the spinuses are those guys. I play in the spinuses all day long. They are my newest and most valued friends. Okay? These are the big players. C0, C2, just look at the size. Look to innate. It's the funniest thing. I'm serious. I don't remember what it was. I just said, well, innate, that guy's bigger. There must be a reason why. You know? So there you go. So just look at the stuff there, and then we realize where the major tension is going to be, where the biggest. Listen, if it's a bigger bone, it's going to have the biggest attachments. If you want to release the most, go to the big stuff. Why not? Okay, why mess around? Go right to the big stuff. Okay? So these are the players. Now, tonight we're not going to talk about the order of these things and stuff like that and what to do and where they are. You know, this gets a little more involved, okay? But this is you can see this. It's got a global effect. And then you can look at the triangle system here and you now see how that spine, which is our system, it's just the sagittal spine. That's the main line because it's tensegral. And the supporting system then becomes the transverse processes because they're on the side. And the guy wires hold them and stabilize it. And guys, what has to happen? You know, we have the rib cage in us. That gives us bounce already, but that was made by the factory. So it doesn't have the same that it was a line that was bent after birth. Do you follow me? You think about that. The spine had a C curve that went to 3 curves. So 2 curves went the opposite way. Okay? The frontal system, the ribs are curved, but they were made already from the factory. They don't have a tensegrity. They have some bounce to them, but not the same level. That's why we crack ribs when we bounce flat down compared to jumping down when we're young and bouncy. Okay? Very different effect. So our shoulders pulling back, though, is crucial, and that's why you see people rounding forward. Okay? So it's a breakdown with the shoulders breaking forward in tight pecs, and what's everybody doing out there? They're all working their abs. We're all sitting down. We're all looking forward at our text. All day long, we're getting sagittally short in the front, and we're rolling the support system forward. So the posterior system is breaking down. We're shortening the front and elongating the back on those posterior back muscles, and that's why we get these round shoulders. Okay? So about two and a half years ago, 3 years ago, I was unable to lift my arms up by standing against the wall and touch the wall. I can go touch the floor and go way backwards now, okay? And so through adjustments and through creating balance in those systems, because I know where I'm short, and you could feel them too, I have created where I am today, the most optimal tensegral place. And it's because of me being tensegral that I can break resistance the easiest, because it's the bounce in me that allows me to move through the rigidity in them. Okay? Two hard surfaces can't hit each other. That's something to think about, level 3 people. Okay? M people. Okay? If you're not tensegral and you're rigid, you can't break resistance. Okay? So if you're not in shape and you're not limber and you're not stretching and really getting yourself tensegral, you're just like a brick hitting these things all day long. Okay? So this should say frontal system, by the way, cervical frontal system. So there's my one error for the evening. Okay? So the cervical frontal system, okay, the supports of the transverse processes. And these are the big guys, C0, C1, C5, C7. Okay? Any questions?
What do you mean by ledge, Russell?
What's that? The C5 ledge. Oh, cool. Okay, good. Thanks, Andy. All right. Yeah, so I just, somebody sent something to me and I just missed what it was. I think it was Tom. If he can write that again. It popped up and it left. But, or you could turn on your mic and ask me. Did you have a question? Sorry if I missed this, but what does the, I don't see, primary transversarium. What that means is, who are the big players in the neck? Which TPs are the big guys, the primary guys? So the bigger ones are the bigger players because they have more attachments. So what's the biggest transverse in the cervical spine? C1, okay? C7 is large. C1 is the big player. Why do you think people play there? Okay, they think it's the neurology and all the stuff there. No, it's a big myofascial attachment. So you're releasing tons of lateral lines. Okay, and if you push it in the right direction, of course, you're going to get some of the sagittal lines, of course, too, because the sagittal supports are even coming over on the transverse processes too, as well. Okay, so it's a secondary system with a secondary backup. Okay, so hopefully that helped. All right, so these are the transversarium that are big. Okay, so moving along. Okay, so these are structure, these are function, this is gravity, and this is time. Okay? It's cool. Okay? So what we're going to look at now is we're going to look at some of those attachments, and we're going to want to start accessing them. Okay? Now, which curve is more important? Which one is short in the human being, the front or the back?
The back.
The back is short.
Yes.
So everybody is looking up at the sky, and there's a huge arch in the back because the back is short.
When you say it that way, I'll go the front is short.
Well, let me ask you a question. Let's just go to a sagittal picture here. All right, hold on one second. There we go. Okay, Brad, right here, from here to here, what's short? Is this distance shorter than this, or is this one around the back shorter?
The front is shorter.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a very simple rule. Here it is, Brad. Grandma always falls forward. Okay? So what is the primary that we have to release, the front or the back?
We have to release the shortened side.
And which one is that? The front or the back? Very good. Okay. So we have to release the front. Okay. So if we want to release the front, okay, we always do that last. Okay, because we always want to release that last. I want to make sure it's released. Okay, I don't want to go ahead and release, the front and then release the back and throw the back up on top of it. I mean, it's ridiculous, right? Okay. So remember, there is always anterior, there is always posterior. There's no such thing as just anterior. The human body doesn't have anterior. If it has anterior, it has posterior. If it has falling down, if it has shortening, it has stretching. Okay? It has it. It's just the way it is. All right? So I check everything. So this is something that I wanted to show you tonight. We have looked in upper cervical work as rotation is like a line of drive. Push it anterior to posterior, push it posterior. That's not correct. Okay? Not from a tension point of view. Okay? because I'm releasing tension using the bones, okay, and their pathways to get the most amount of stretch. That's what I do. So every person, no matter what side up, I start them in a posterior chin flexion, okay, because it stretches the back. And then I release all the TPs and all the SPs that I can. Then what do I do, Brad? I put them in this position. Then what do I do, Brad? I release all the TPs and all the SPs. Do I release them in that order? You know, I only take what I get. I take everything I can take. I told my patients I only take what's given. Okay? So, everybody cool with that? Okay, so this is, you know, so for the people that have been around for a while, if this is new for you, don't freak out here. This is just further on information. It's a webinar that tries to accommodate many different people. Okay? I want to keep everyone together. Okay, is everybody cool with what I just did? Okay, because we're going to go into the home strut. This is going to get even cooler, okay? Because I want to, yes, Tim. Here's the deal. Tim asked me on both sides. Now, there are levels of levels of sustainability, and that's levels of where people are. So if this misalignment here, this is a postural listing, okay? And there are levels that we look at and say, this person is at that level. This person is at that level. I'll give you an example. You're building a house, you pour the foundation, you say, the foundation, that's the level I'm at. Then you go to sticks and bricks. Hey, I got sticks and bricks. And then guess what? You got the roof and the drywall, and then you keep evolving through. A postural misalignment, taking it from a broken down state to a balanced and to a sagittal up state, okay? There are 5 levels, Tim, okay? And what we do is we look at these and we see where they are, and the level determines what's the move. Do this, do that, do this, do that, okay? So, long story short, he asked me, do people on both sides? The answer to that is most misalignments at this point are in a state where they're at level 1 and level 2, which means they need 2-sided adjustments. I adjusted probably about, I don't know, maybe I adjusted 35 people today, okay? And probably 6 of them I adjusted on one side, okay? And the reason for that is that I'm really trying to make sure that I'm thorough. And I can mostly get everything on one side, okay? But I don't get the same releases if I touch the easy button, hitting that right spot. So I'm going to get into this. You're going to see this because there is a way to look at the human body as 3-dimensional. And this is, you asked the question right at the perfect time. So this is a person, I think I wrote supine, excuse me. This is a person, not supine. This is a person, this is another error, good, because I just did this about an hour ago. This is a patient. As I was driving up to the mountains, I had this idea of the way to explain this, so I did it when I got here. So this is a patient in side posture, and here are the TPs, okay? And what I'm going to show you tonight is when I push down from a tension point of view, look, this is the body, it's in tension, okay? When I push in certain different places, it has different action on the body, okay? If where I push has different action on the body, each TP has different action on the body, okay? So the TPs that are located from C5, now think of C5, it's that keystone. Now, even as a transverse process, it's still kind of midway in the cervical spine because of its curve. So the stuff that you're touching down below, if you're touching C7 and C5, so above C5 versus below C5, if you're touching points down in here, you're releasing more of the stuff in structure, okay? More of the stuff that we call below because it's below this curve point here, okay? This is level 3 stuff, mod 3 stuff tonight, right now. So if you're coming on for the first time, okay, just don't panic, all right? All right, so this right here is tension that comes up here, and C7 to C5, the TPs and the SPs were released below, okay? Everything above okay, starts releasing more functional stuff. But you also see the less depth that you have here. And this is the head, the way it sits. And we can bend the head, okay? We do it all day long. As we push in here, look what it does to the head. It lifts the head up, okay? So I'm creating tension on this side. So no matter where you touch the human body, my friends, you put energy into it. That is the reason why chiropractic has worked. Because everywhere we push, we make things happen. The idea is to push at all the right places and all the release points and all specifically that release this thing in order that's measurable to order. So the TPs below release stuff below. So why is that important? Because I've got somebody that's 20 pounds off center, okay? Well, weight is a part of structure, okay, right? Weight's a part of structure. There it is. So where's the structure? That's below. Where's my point then? I better make sure that I touch. Down below. So I really want to nuzzle in there at C7 and C5, okay? And I want to restore those TPs and I want to bend those TPs. TPs bend in all directions, okay? Feel the resistance. Bend them, okay? And release them. Do not take any bone in a direction that it does not want to go. All resistance will break within the path of normal resistance, a normal path, okay? Look at the neck. Look how much play there is bending your head, flexion, extension, lateral flexion, okay? Rotation. Remember that when you are touching people and you are leaning into those TPs and bending them, okay? But when you grab onto that TP and you get that thing, you may notice that it doesn't want to go A to P or P to A or up or down, okay? It's 360 degrees. Tension will be there. If it's tight on this side, why? Well, what is that telling you? Let's say it's tight on the top side of C5. What is that telling you?
Something's relaxed on the other side.
No, something's tight on this side, okay? So if I'm pushing on this and it's loose, watch this. Watch this. I'm coming into C5, and I come in I to S, and I go, that releases, and then I push on it, and I go, man, that just doesn't feel right, okay? You're going to have to get the feel of these things, okay? And then I put my hand, you know, just kind of above it or in front of it, and I go, wow, that's tight there, and I push down on it. Say I push down on it, and it doesn't budge, okay? Or I push, let's do it this way. Let's say I push up I to S, and it's moving beautifully, but I to S at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, that way it's real tight. And I know that it should move that way. What is that telling me? Okay, that's
Something
telling
on the other
me...
side's holding it?
Well, so that's telling me that that tension line that comes out this way versus the one that's this way is tight. That's all. So remember, everything that you touch, a TP, a spinous process, is attached 360 degrees. It's not a wire. So tension is always 360 degrees. Look at the human body, go open up a netter, and look at any spinous. You'll see it's completely covered with fascia, which means it is holding tension at 360 degrees. We need to check those. Every one of these acts as a lever. But the stuff that's below, the big hammer down here is get in that C7 to C5 to release the bottom stuff. Okay, get up here to release the upper stuff. Okay, and feel it, and bend those TPs, okay? Bend those, then you're releasing the supporting lines, okay? Now, if they don't release and you want to go to the spinuses, this is a little bit more crazy, this picture, okay? Because on the sagittal curve, this is a patient prone right now. I'm showing you prone not because I adjust prone, but I want to show you how my hand gets in there and the action that it does. This is the curve right here in the neck. This is C7, this is C5, this is C2, and that is the rectus captus posterior major and minor, C1 attachment and C2 attachment, the musculature here, and they're important, okay? But I want you to look at, here's the tension in the back, and it comes up. You got I didn't make a lumbar curve here. I had to use a pulley system. I'm not that good. So then the dorsal curve comes up, and then we come into the sagittal curve. Everybody sees what I'm doing, right? And we could come in here, And in that curve system, we can go ahead and move things 360 degrees. Okay? Now again, on C5, when I push into this side of the curve, I really release a load of the lumbar curve because I'm below here. Do you hear me? Below C5 is the lumbar curve. When you go into here, it tractions this line primarily. Okay? You have to release in here. These two curves must get better. The lumbar curve is controlled from below lines. Below lines are under C5, okay, meaning below C7 to C5. So as you get behind and get into C7 spinous and bring it up I to S, bringing the chin down first and sweeping up, sweeping up, sweeping up, sweeping up, you're releasing the lumbar curve. Then, okay, I bring the head all the way up into extension, okay, because when I bring the head down here, guys, what am I tractioning? I'm really tractioning down here. It really tractions this. So when I tilt that head down and I get into this area from C5 to C7, I'm really releasing that lumbar curve. It is an immediate release for lumbar pain patients, a lot of them. They will notice it. That's better. Okay? That's happy news for you. Okay? Now, I want to restore the cervical curve, too. It's just as important for me, okay, if not more. So what I do is I have the patient go into extension, okay, and I start working in here, okay, and I work in here. And I also work here. I always check both places. Posterior, I check both places, but you're going to find most of the stuff down low here because it pulls on that lumbar curve. When you do here, it pulls on this curve here, actually in the front. Okay, it opens the front. And this is important. Listen to me, Mod 3 people. After I work this back and forth and back and forth, I do posterior first, then anterior. I'm coming in at an angle like this, into it, I to S, S to I. When I come in S to I here, what am I doing? This whole thing comes whipping around this way. You see this line here? When I come in here, the chin starts popping up. What am I doing there? I'm releasing short tension in the front, Brad Hirschhorn, because the tension is coming up. And you'll bring the people and you'll say, just bring your chin up. Okay, relax. Remember, the patient placement with the pelvis and stuff like that is equally important. That's not tonight. All right? But when you bring that chin back, all right, and then I say to the patient, I'm going to come right in here. This is my last move. I come right in. And I said, just allow your chin to come up. And I bring them into extension, and I just drop into C5, and I break that last bit of resistance. You'll hear the saran wrap of the fascia go. And if you get on C2, that's where you'll feel C2, and that's where you'll release the dura. So by posterior here in the sagittal, you released all the structural components first, then you bring the structure back, the chin back, and you release our neurological stuff here. You restore the cervical curve, okay? You get rectus capitis posterior major in posterior when it's down and when it's up, okay? And then the last piece that I want to give Mod 3 people is a thing called rolling. And that is the human head is like a cue ball in a sock, okay? And I can push down and I could push up in here, S to I and I to S, and I can create changes on this side. And that's important because a lot of people have the last position, have a head that is tilting downward here, and you're releasing something on this side, and you're able to go in here at that rectus capitis point at the C0 rim, and it distracts this tension here, and it brings this tension this way, and it pulls the head right up. And it's just a home run. The whole thing just collapses. And that's where you hear the whole thing at C5 go. And that's when you've restored that sagittal curve. Okay? So you can't do that on everybody. You could do that on somebody. But if you start being easy with this and just start leaning in this and start pulling up on these things and checking this language out that we're talking here, you'll start noticing that you're being specific and you're starting to understand three-dimensionally that there's a human being that has 6 sections. Those 6 sections have been traumatized, that there are relationships that are out of order that you want to restore. And you're looking up at the sagittal curve and the frontal supporting system and specific points over time and a method that actually releases them, okay, and understands what it's doing from a tension system at every level. Because no matter where, if you push into this line, and this is a pulley, this pulley is pulling around here, guys, and you push in here, you push in here. If you're pushing in a thoracic or a lumbar, you are changing things in this system, okay? The cervical curve has an amazing ability because it is, you can move the neck in a three-dimensional way, which gives you an ability to have depth three-dimensionally, which gives you an ability to restore not just the structure, but the dynamics of the human body. So the place that I'm playing now is not just releasing just tension, but just then getting into this place here and playing in that sagittal curve and the C2 and the C5 and the C7, the occipital rim, and the transverse process of C1, okay, and playing with those major players and releasing and restoring three-dimensional by bending this forward, down, up, A to P, S to I to S, and bending and rolling and feeling any tension within the spine and within the body, and the patients feel it. I mean, just imagine that you have, this system. That system right there. From up here, you can feel the tension. If you set them up, you could feel that tension here, and if you set it up a certain other way, you could feel this short side over here. If you're able to bring this tension up that way, you could feel this collapse here. So from up here, we can feel this from a tension system in a balloon. If this was a balloon and I was pushing in that balloon here, okay, and this thing was stuck, I'd go, man, that thing's stuck, it's tight. And then I push it up and I go, oh, that's easy, up, down, that's really tight. Well, that's what you feel with the spinuses, that's what you feel with the transverse processes, is this short tension, because those are the anchors, and that's what we feel in a muscle spasm. So, and that's what creates the heat, and that's what creates the curve, and that's what creates the atlas displacement, and that creates the functional neurology, and that creates the muscle pain, and that creates the osteoarthritis, and blah, 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 blah. And now we start seeing a system that is completely integrated, and the heat and everything in chiropractic that's going on, okay? So that's where I'm playing these days, is looking at these systems three-dimensionally, looking where they attach, understanding the system in a more profound way sagittally, understanding it more in the frontal system, understanding who the big players are, and then setting somebody up based on that postural listing. And everything is a postural listing, and that we have to create balance in it and move it to a place where the human body is sustainable. You cannot take somebody, I came from a place that said correction. We don't adjust, we correct, okay? I don't adjust, I don't correct, I just release, okay? And I release only what's given. So my friends, when you do this, I'm telling you, I'm teaching a lot of you stuff that's beyond what and you can go in and you could start pushing it places. And I want to remind you that you want to slow down. You want to remember that it's something new for you, and you don't want to push something in the wrong direction. All right? You want to follow it. You want to learn what feels where that bounce is. And over time, you will notice what you're able to take, okay, because it's given, and also when you have to stop. Okay, and it's a blessing because it's a beautiful feeling to know, okay, that you've worked with the body and you can communicate with the body. I work 100%. Once I look at the postural listing and I lay somebody down, I only work on feel. I do not work C7, C5, I to S, S to I. That conversation does not exist with me at all, zero, nothing. I go in, and it's a person laying in front of me that I've set up in tension, and I'm going after it, and I've placed it in the maximum place of tension based on their 3D misalignment so that I can wiggle it out, okay? And that's what we do. And to me, it's the coolest thing going. So we got a class in June. That's a couple weeks out. There's about just about 10 people coming, which is great because that's exactly what my number is. That's what these are, little satellite things to just get people that can't come. They're easy in, out stuff. Big. It's in Dallas. And it's June 2nd and 3rd. It starts at 5 o'clock on Friday night. So it's one of those in-out things that you don't have to be away from your family long. It ends at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and it is a complete run-through of Biomechanics 1 and Connectivity 1. So then the conference in Seattle is in Seattle. I'm watching questions come up. Sorry. And that is Biomechanics 1, Biomechanics 2, Connectivity 1, Connectivity 2, and for people that have been around for a long time, the master's class, they're invited to that for Connectivity 3. Okay, which is, getting in and really learning how to adjust this thing at a level. Okay, so please, I'd love to hear some questions from some of you guys. If you want to take your mutes off and you want to talk to me for a minute, I'd love it. I know it's late. Okay, questions, please.
Hey, Russ, how do you know when you go to SI and I/S in that rectus capitis? You just check, see where the body's going?
Well, Andy, you're going to feel that you're going to feel how that goes, okay? You'll go up with it, and you'll feel that saran wrap. When it's posterior, you'll feel that saran wrap just releasing right out of there. And then when you flex the head down, okay, to get that anterior compartment and that chin's up. Again, do not jam things up. Just nicely bring that chin up. And I tell people, bring your chin up and then just relax. And then I start going into it and I play back and forth, C7, C2, down into that. Okay, down into the valley of C5. I to S in here, S to I in here, I to S in here, and then you just start going around, man. You'll feel that. That's a huge thing because that is directly, rectus capitis, posterior major, and minor are directly related to the dura. Okay, so they say. All right.
And are you going? Can I ask one question?
You could ask me 100.
Okay, when you're going S to I, you're going SI into C2 or right under the occiput?
Right where the resistance is, Andy.
Of course.
That's what it is.
Thank you.
It's where it is.
Of
Guys, listen. If I put a marble on a table, okay, you could take your finger and you feel a muscle spasm. What do you think that is? Go find where it's connected and start pushing it around. See where it's connected. Put your hand down, okay? Just put your hand down. You'll feel it, okay?
Gotcha.
Yeah, listen, Tom, you're probably way above my pay grade. Okay, Tom is asking me some questions that I may not know, okay, answers to. He's laughing probably now, okay? Yeah, listen, this is who I am. I'm this guy. I'm this guy that looks at a human body and has gotten some cool information that has integrated all the chiropractic, all the myofascial people, all the tensegrity people into a system of understanding the normal physiology and biomechanics of the body, what the relationships are, and where there's some access points of how to set it up to restore it the fastest possible in the universe right now. That's what I'm able to do. Okay?
No, I definitely appreciate it.
So that's what I look at, and so and come on, ask me some questions. I know it's late. We've got 5 minutes.
So on C7, for the sagittal plane, when you're in the spinous, you're releasing the anterior tension by releasing the lumbar compression, correct?
Yeah, so when you put somebody back, okay, posterior, okay, remember some of this tension here has released this dorsal curve here in the posterior, right? Okay, but when you put somebody in that anterior, okay, position and you get below C5, the leverage here, okay, is affecting this bottom part most.
So anterior, you're talking about instead of having the S shape in the sagittal plane, that you're making them back to a C, correct? Is that what you're saying?
No.
Okay, wait.
When I'm posterior?
create.
When I'm posterior?
Yeah, when you're posterior.
Right. Yeah, but I don't change. I keep them in a sagittal curve.
Okay.
I keep them in a sagittal curve between their shoulders and pelvis. Okay? Remember that to me, the dorsal curve, okay, the dorsal curve is only long, okay? It could be short in the front, yes, okay? It's short in the front, okay, and that's what you're getting out. But by putting somebody in the sagittal plane, you have to be stretching all three of them, okay? All right, it's only the head that modulates, that gives me, that just, it's, you know what this is like, Josh? Josh, this is like your X-ray unit, okay, that you have the gross and the max and the min, okay, the coarse and the fine, whatever it's called, okay, where you touch the KV and it gives you 10 at a time, okay, and then the fine tune, okay? Putting the pelvis and the shoulders and everybody in a sagittal curve, okay, is the major. Bending the chin down and up allows you to access the specific line in that sagittal system, okay? That's the way I'm going to say it.
So, yeah, so you're saying the dorsal curve has essentially the most tension. So that's what you want to open up at first, and then to access.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm saying that the cervical and lumbar curves, the posterior bends there, they've elongated, okay, which means the front has shortened. I want to release the short side last. That's what we do in QSM3. We release the primary last. The sagittal system is always short in the front, okay? By bringing the chin up, where am I stretching? The front. So I do that second. Yes or no?
Yeah, I get that.
Okay. Is that what you're asking me? I hope so.
Yeah.
I'm asking, Josh.
Yeah,
You on?
I'm thinking here. So,
Anybody else?
what are you saying the primary is now?
The primary.
One more time. I think
Okay.
I'm.
Well, okay. Let me ask. Let me back up for a second. Okay, because I know where you're at. Okay, I know you. Okay. Let's assume that I have a fixed point dysfunction. Okay. When do I release that? First or last?
First.
Okay. No, I release that last, Josh.
Okay.
Okay. Level 1, level 2, man. This is okay.
Well, that's the primary. So yeah, that's okay.
Okay. So the fixed point I release last. Okay. So let's assume that. Okay. I want to just work this out, guys. Just hang out because we're going to clean this up. Some of you may leave, but Josh, here I have this. I have this listing. What do? What I do is I have a fixed point, that's the problem. This should be an RR and an LLL. And I have a head that is the function that's telling me, okay, this is a functional, the head is functionally responding to this left off here, right? You get that. The structure is left here, it should be right, and the head is responding. Structure dictates function, yes? So if this is level 1 and 2, which it is, okay, level 1 would be a new patient and I want to release, okay? This is a level 2. It means it has one dysfunction. It is not balanced yet, okay? In a balanced misalignment, I use the algorithm. I release basically like you said, that's when I release the primary first, okay? That's not the case here, okay? This system is not balanced yet, okay? And what we're doing here is I release the head first, and then I release the primary last. Because why would I go ahead and release this and then turn it over and then push it right to left when this guy's weak? That would just have it collapse again, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Ding dong move, okay? Same idea with the sagittal. The sagittal is the most important. I want to do it last. So I lift the chin, okay, because that's the anterior. And I want to get that last. So I always go posterior first.
Okay.
That means I always have the chin down first in both positions. If I start right side up, chin down first. Okay, then I go and I release everything I can, and then I bring the chin up. See how this creates tension in the front. That's when I want to release last. Then I flip them over, same thing if I need to flip them over, if I'm doing a two-sided adjustment. Cool?
Yeah.
Beautiful. All right, what else? Somebody's got a question. Dr. Hasse, how'd you like that tensegrity conversation tonight? You're a big tensegrity guy.
Oh yeah, I was totally into it, man. I'm glad you went there.
Well, we've been just talking about the bounce, man, and that it's a balloon, but this was like a big thing that I actually see how it's made and a big piece for us. So I think you guys get down and dirty in that area. So anybody, there's some new people here. Do you have any questions? I mean, our philosophy is to be vitalists. Our philosophy is to be able to look at a three-dimensional body on a instrument called a posture IQ and an X-ray, if that's what you want, I do, and to look at it and say, what's the story of this thing? And it's not a bone out of place. It's every bone out of place. It's a system in distress that's in tension. That tension is attached to the bony system. Chiropractors have been using it since day one to put energy into, you push into a balloon. The issue is there's 6 sections. And those 6 sections are not just piled up on top of each other. They get whacked all over the place. Go look at your patients. Go look at your spines. Go look at your bodies. And there is a normal way that they should, when we get knocked off. The body, innate intelligence, has an order, guys. Even in chaos, it has order. So in a misalignment, it has order. And that order is a system that is one where we look at those 6 sections and say that they should be right, 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 and left, 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 meaning the structure should oppose the function. The numbers in the middle should be between 0 and 3, meaning 0 to 3 pounds and 0 to 3 millimeters of twist between the shoulders and pelvis. And that is cool. You know why? Because no one else has one story about a full spine. Nobody has integrated the myofascial system and current tensegrity. Nobody has put neurology in our business except it's out of our business. It is out of our business. We talk it and say, it's the nervous system, but we don't have a relationship with it, except that we can change it. But we change it through structure, okay? But we have to understand normal, abnormal, because otherwise we don't know what to fix. You got 6 pieces moving. And somebody tell me how many combinations of possibilities to organize 6 pieces is? 720. So just in this postural listing, there's 720 options, so to speak, for the human body. That's a lot. Okay? So it's complicated. And we have minimized that down to either click here, punch here, put a heel there, use this lotion, and now our big thing is everybody's selling nutrition because that's our primary. Okay? This is what we do. This is what I love. I love that you do other things. I don't care what you do. You could sell farm animals in your office, okay? But what I'm into is getting on those processes, transverse processes and spinous processes, feeling the resistance and feeling it release in my hands, okay? And taking that piezoform, which is our, people say, what is that noise? And I say it to them this, I said, a guitar pick. So he said, is that your wrist? I said, yes, it's my wrist. I said, but that's the linear explanation. What it truly is a release and an opening of the patient. Because what it signifies is this, is that when the piezoform gets onto a process that is stuck, just like a guitar string, and it pulls across it, the piezoform cavitates. If there is no tension, if there is no guitar string, the piezoform cannot cavitate. So the pop is the end result of the relationship between the piezoform and the tension line and the releasing of that tension, okay, or the relaxing of it, okay, at the GTOs, okay? So that's what we're about, is trying to look at the relationship, and the adjustment is to touch people just the same and to feel that. It's not a mechanical thing. We're not a 4 there and a 2 there and a 1 over there. We're not a mechanical device. We have a life in us, and there's a relationship of innate intelligence, and we have to include that in the work that we do. Okay, not just say to help us. Okay, we want to help it. It's the other way around. That's our business. Okay, so that being said, any other questions? So every month we have this. We have a forum on Facebook. It's a doctor's forum. If you would like to be on that forum, friend request me, and then go friend request that. I'd love to see you. There's a couple people. This is an interesting time. It's an exciting time. It's a great time in chiropractic because we are alive again. We are back at looking at our craft, okay? And we can rule the world because nobody can do this. And there are people that are justifying us because they're saying that this myofascial system and the tensegral system, it's life. Go read what Donald Ingber says and the effect of compression on that tensegral system. It affects us at a cellular level. Okay? All right. So, good night. Any other questions? I don't see anybody other questions. I saw a question pop up, but I don't see it in front of me. All right, man. Good night, and hope to see you again and spread the love. All right, man. Good night, night.
Thanks, bro.
Thanks, Russell.
Thanks, guys.